going. So yeah, Kemba's got to make better decisions at the end of that time.
Yeah, I would agree. Poor shot selection kind of did them in late in the game. You saw the fadeaway three by Tatum to kind of end the game. You saw the dunk by Tatum that got blocked, obviously, by Bam, where Marcus Smart was open in the corner, and he could have dished and fed the hot hand. Marcus Smart ended the game with 26 points last night, and I thought that from three, he was playing very well, and you're not going to get those types of performances all the time from some of these other players. I mean, Tice had a pretty good game last night. I mean, doing what Tice does.
He had 4 points.
Right, but
you're not expecting much from Tice, though. So, I mean, you're not really expecting
the energy
too much
was good, and defensively, he had some big plays, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think the biggest takeaway, I think, from all this is that we got solid minutes from Brad Wanamaker.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
about
what I mean. You don't want to waste these opportunities by players.
Let me tell you something, man. And so I had this conversation last night in a group chat, and I appreciate Brad Wanamaker coming in and playing solid minutes, even while Kemba's struggling. But at the same time, in an Eastern Conference final, when a trip to the finals is on the line, Brad Wanamaker is the last person I want to see on the court. I don't want, and I guess it speaks to why we need Gordon Hayward to get back healthy and get in.
There's just no depth on the bench.
Yeah,
I mean, and listen, these guys are playing big minutes, right? Again, these guys are tired. They're gassed from the last series, but let's not take away from Miami. Crowder dropped 22 last night. Dragic dropped 29. Tyler Hero almost had a triple-double, right? 12, 11, and 9. Yeah. These are big-time plays in big-time situations, and these guys are showing up. And the Celtics, they stopped feeding Brown. Brown was hot last night, and I don't understand why they went away from him. In the last 4 possessions of the game, he didn't touch the ball. He was a decoy in a lot of those plays. Going into the overtime, he didn't touch the ball enough for me. Mm-hmm. And again, it's feeding that hot hand. Him and Smart were hot, and Kemba didn't have it, and I think that's where he's got to show his veteran presence and dish the ball into better shot selections for these guys.
Yeah, I think it's. Oh, I don't want to cut you off.
No,
I think there's overall. It comes down to decision making. You saw, they were trapping Kemba for most of the game at the top of the key at half court.
Yeah.
But they moved the ball beautifully for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
And then at one point, it kind of gets stuck. And
in the second quarter.
It's a balance because, I definitely want the ball in Jason Tatum's hand at the end of the game, but I also don't want it to be totally ISO ball. I think we got to get into where there's some movement, set some picks. It shouldn't just be these guys that are gassed and hey, you just get to the rim and try to make things happen.
Yeah, and again, to Miami's credit, they were doing a good job of picking up Kemba's pick and roll, right? They were trying to set it, it just wasn't getting there. I mean, you saw Williams come out and try to set it a couple times for him, and it was all about the angle where he set it. One time, Kemba dipped behind him and opened up the shot for himself at the free throw line, but it was just very tough to break through that the zone that they were playing on us last night. And I think that's going to be something that they've done in the regular season against us and something they're going to continue to do because it gives us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think also, going back to, I guess, Tatum's shot, I'm not necessarily mad at the shot. You're right. I mean, we've seen Tatum hit shots like that throughout the playoffs. But I think, when you have a chance, all you need is a bucket. You didn't even need the 3. You don't need, anything, crazy. You just needed the bucket to win and secure the victory. Obviously, it was kind of tough to just see the ball stuck in his hands. That said, I do think like you said, Marcus, I think we got to give Miami a lot of credit. I think we know, you know what I mean? I think we got, obviously, Bam Adebayo, but just the team in general, I think we got to give them credit because I think we know who they are, right? I think they're a team, obviously, they got some great shooters. Crowder, which is kind of nerve-wracking to see him shoot these threes where, in the 2017 rather, 16 Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs, and so big ups to him. But, Tyler Hero, knocking down some shots, Duncan Robinson knocking down some shots. Of course, Goran Dragic is huge. And then, just keep it close all the way until the fourth quarter. And then Jimmy Buckets, guys. I mean, he took it to Tatum, late. Got the and one.
Basket.
That was a tough basket. I mean, even the three, with the lack of closeout from Kemba.
Last pick in his draft class, we passed on him.
I think, I mean, I can't fault the Celtics. Everybody passed them in that draft. So I don't even want to go down that route. I just think Miami is a tough team.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not going to be a pushover. They're going to hang in it. You know, they came in, they started out slow, and they still fought back.
Yeah.
Twice down or 12 early in the first, back in the fourth, by 14 in the fourth. They fought back, and so they're not going to be a pushover team. At the same point, the Celtics did play well, but it comes down to, you know, who really wants it more. You know, they've got to get that killer instinct and put teams away when they know they have them down. And to Miami's credit, like you guys said, you know, Tyler Hero, that kid's a baller. You know what I mean? He came to play. Jay Crowder,
His last two games have been good.
He's a great guy for your
really.
team, but if that's going to be the guy that you live and die by, if he's going to beat you, I'm okay with that. I'll let him be the one that has to take the shot. But what you can't have is Jimmy Buckets opening the corner for three, and hitting timely shots like that.
Man down.
It's
Mr.
kind of
Tatum.
crazy. And so, you know, I just kind of want to get some predictions from you guys kind of moving forward. What do you guys think happens in game 2 of the series tomorrow night? You know, how do the Celtics respond?
I think they respond well. I think they know that they were that close of winning. You know, obviously the mistakes down the line, obviously we talk about it, you know, the ball got stuck on certain players' hands and Kemba and Tatum's hands. They're going to move the ball a lot more. I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive on the defensive end. And I'm also, you know, to your point, Marcus, of getting, you know, Jaylen Brown involved a little bit more. You know, you don't want him involved too much, but you also don't want to forget about him either. So, you know, you definitely want to involve him a little bit more. And I'm just hoping you get, you know, maybe the same, if not maybe same production from Brad Wanamaker somehow, some way. You don't really necessarily want to bank on it, but if you can get something, you know, going with him in the second unit, maybe that kind of propels to, you know, to a game 2 win.
Well, listen, Marcus Smart has been very hot the last few games. If that continues and Tatum continues to be Tatum, I mean, he dropped 30 last night. And like I said earlier, and you alluded to, if they keep feeding Brown, Kemba doesn't have to be an amazing player. He just has to, again, not put them in bad situations to take bad shots. We want good shot selections. And if that happens, I think they can, you know, dominate the second. I mean, they were up. We were killing this team. So I think it's just a matter of going to what works and sticking with that. And I think they should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell. I'm not panicking just yet. I think the Celtics overall did play a good game. Just got to make better decisions down the stretch. Kudos to Miami for pulling it out in a tough overtime battle. We're in for a heck of a series. We're going to shift gears a little bit and go to the Western Conference Finals. Before we really even get there, I just want to touch on the team out west. The other LA team. The baby brother, the little guys,
Choke.
who absolutely peed all over themselves. I don't even know if I can say that. But they were terrible. And I don't understand how you come out in a game 7 and you don't even compete to the point where, I mean, like, if there's a championship on the line, they look like they were ready to go to Cancun.
Listen, they were like final 32 minutes of the game. 47-28, they're outscored by Denver, okay? The Claw is supposed to be the MVP. He's supposed to be the next LeBron. He's supposed to be Pandemic P. Where you at, brother?
No, man. Listen, I just brought it up right now. If I'm Paul George, I'm staying far away from social media as I can because he is getting fried. I got to pull up some of these nicknames that I'm seeing because this is incredible. I'm seeing, obviously, you know, he nicknamed himself Playoff P, right? But some of these names are incredible. So I'm seeing Playoff Awful P, Playoff Poo, Pandemic P, Poverty P, PG 13%, and the worst for me is COVID-13.
Oh,
like, come on, man.
That's
like,
cold.
That's like COVID-13. Like, I don't know. So, I mean, obviously the whole Playoff P thing is done. It's out. I mean, we can go so many directions in this, but, you know, obviously Doc Rivers blew his third, 3-1, series lead. Obviously Kawhi Leonard, like you, Marcus, I thought, going into the season, I thought he was better than LeBron. I thought he was at the point where he was going to ascend himself as the best basketball player in the league today. And for whatever reason, we'll probably hear some injury, coming out later. He just didn't have it. He didn't want it. He was 6 of 22, 14 points. I mean, that's just not going to get it done. So, and that's why they're home chilling.
Well, one question I want to ask you guys is, Do you think that Kawhi Leonard's non-emotional approach is something that kind of did them in, right? And I mean, you want to see excitement, you want to see something out of this guy, and he just didn't have it last night in a closeout game. And I mean, I know he's been averaging 30 for the series, but do you think that he needs to be more aggressive and he needs to show that emotion a little bit more and kind of take over?
Well, it's tough because he wasn't that guy in Toronto,
Right.
and he led him to a championship. And so I
They had
think
Lowry, who had-
and Lowry was vocal, but I think that leaders can lead in different ways. And so you don't need everybody to be the rah-rah guy. Sometimes you need guys just to step up and say, I'm going to prove it with my approach to the game, the way I play, and back it up with, the stats.
Right.
Unfortunately, Kawhi didn't do either, but I'm not going to knock Kawhi because Kawhi, his pedigree kind of speaks for itself. I think he just had a bad series. I think this team was made up poorly. I think it speaks more to the guys he had around him. You
Really, you think the team?
Yeah, you look at Marcus Morris, and you look at Pat Beverly. First series, they're clowning the whole time on the sidelines, laughing at Dame. They think they've got an easy trip to the Western Conference Finals. They come into to that second round. They go up early. You know what I mean? Their whole perspective, even playoff P as they call it. He said, listen, we're in our driver's seat. He's down. They just lost a 3-1 series lead. It's 3-3. We're still in the driver's seat. That's the wrong mentality to have. You've got it, just like I said with the Celtics, where you have to have that killer mentality.
Right.
They had to have that same mentality too. And I think they went to the game with the wrong approach, and you had the wrong guys kind of leading that team. You needed someone that said, hey, we need to buckle down and really take the guys seriously, and I don't think they did.
Well, that's one thing I meant by being more aggressive by Kawhi, right? Does he need to be that more of and I don't know this because I'm not in their locker room, but I don't know. Does he need to be more vocal? Does he need to be more aggressive? Does he need to show more emotion like a LeBron does when his teammates, make mistakes and he kind of, Kobe Bryant did it, Jordan did it, right? These are the guys that you want to model yourself after, and if you're not going to, he's definitely not doing it with Pandemic P. and I don't know what's going on with Lemon Pepper Lou, but
boy. Lemon Pepper Lou.
But and should this team even stay together? Do you think that you think that it was put together poorly? Do you think they should break it up? Lemon Pepper Lou is and Montrezl Harrell and Marquise Morris are all.
I think as bad as a collapse as this was, right? And I think this is probably up there. Definitely up there with the Warriors 3-1 loss, or even hate to say the 07 Patriots season, just the biggest collapse. And I know, but
different sport.
I know, but it's still a colossal.
How about the 04 Yankees?
It's still a colossal playoff.
Almost yelled cut just now.
It's still a colossal play. It's up there in that magnitude because again, going throughout the season, it's not like this was a 7th, 8th seed. They were a 2 seed. They were a pretty comfortable 2 seed, and they were up 3-1. Right? It's not like they were battling. It's not like it was going back and forth. They were up 3-1. I think again, and they had double digit leads in both Game 5 and Game 6, and so I think again, not the result that you wanted. This is terrible. Again, this is definitely one of the biggest collapses in sports history. But I think we need to understand that again. Paul George, whatever he's got to do mentally, whatever he's got to do physically in the playoffs to get this behind him and whatever. Again, obviously Kawhi Leonard is still a top 5 player in the league. Lou Williams, like you mentioned, he was averaging 18 points in the regular season, just down to 10 points. I don't know what was in that chicken wing, but I think they still have enough team. The person I'm looking at Doc Rivers. I'm looking at Doc Rivers.
Listen, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Give some credit to Denver.
Listen, that's exactly. We got to shift gears because we got to talk about Western Conference Finals moving on. For everything the Clippers did poorly, how about the Denver Nuggets coming back again from a 3-1 and really just kind of showing how dominant they can be. It was a great series.
It was a great series. Obviously, again, one of the only teams to come down, or to come back 3-1 in 2 series in the playoffs. That is unbelievable. I think that speaks to the poise of the team, that speaks to the mental toughness of the coach, and it speaks to mental toughness of their best players in Jokic and Murray.
Yep.
Going into the season, I thought Murray was a great player. I didn't think he was a superstar per se. I didn't think he could take a team this far into the playoffs, and he's definitely proving me wrong. Jokic, obviously one of the best passing big men that we've seen. He made the right plays, right? He didn't obviously light it up on the offensive end in points, but he made the right plays and he made the right passes at the right time. And so this team is mentally tough. This team is obviously battle tested. That said, I just can't see this series going past 5. I don't know about you guys, but I can't see this series going past 5. I think the Lakers, has proven, their sort of strategy of resting game 1, kind of a feel-out game. Denver might pull it off, just being off the high of winning game 7, and I think they might reel it four in a row.
Hey man, I'm gonna give a good shout out to Jamal Murray, and I'm gonna go with something he said. We got to show him some respect. You got to put some respect on these guys' names. They've won 2 series now, winning game 7, going the distance, and showing in both those game 7s that they're dominant and that they're supposed to be there. They flirted with the number 2 seed all season. They were a very good team last year. Mm-hmm. This is not a team that we should take lightly. I think that I'm going to say, you say them in 5, I'm going to say Lakers in 5. I'm going to go with Denver in 7.
Whoa!
I'm going to go with Denver in 7. Hot take. Uh-oh. Write it down. Get your notepads out. Uh-oh. You heard it here first on the Read and React show. Jamal Murray, I'm riding with you, brother. Don't let me down. But if there's one thing we've seen with the Lakers is that they don't actually have that continuity. They've got a 2-star show, and Rondo has kind of bridged that gap a little bit and helped them kind of gel a little better. But I don't think you can expect, with the age of Rondo and all these things, I don't think you can expect him to continue to do that. And these kids are hungry, man. These kids are young and they're hungry. Jokic is no joke.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
So let me bring some balance back here. And I think that we have to look at it from both sides. I think you have a well-rested LA team who's also a veteran team.
Yeah.
And you're coming in with the Nuggets team who has had 2 7-game series. And they're a young squad pretty much put together. You think about, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, Jokic. How much more of these grueling series can they take? I think that when you mix with the LeBron, I don't even know what to call it, but just LeBron and him having the dominance that he's had so far. Of course, I'm not a Lakers fan, I'm not a LeBron fan, but what they're doing is undeniable, even with AD. I'm not a fan of them singularly, but they're undeniably probably top 5, 2 of the top 5 talents in the NBA. Yeah. And when you mix that together with rest and coming into this playoff series, looking to get a championship, looking to win one for LA and for Kobe, I just think that it's going to be a little bit too much. My heart wants Denver to win, but I probably say that Denver loses this, and I'm probably going to say it goes. I'll give Denver some love. I'll say it goes 6 games. I hope I'm wrong. You guys out there, you let me know what you guys think, how far this thing's going to go. But I think I got to side with the Lakers on this one.
I think that that Denver has some pretty good bigs, and they match up really well with the Lakers. And as long as their all-stars show up in Jokic and Murray, I think they should compete.
Well, I think, and David, you alluded to it, they have 2 of the top 5, best players in the league, and obviously the All-NBA team just came out, and obviously who's on there? LeBron and AD. So you got those 2 guys, you always have a shot. Again, like you, David, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan. We'll have the debates of the GOATs and stuff, when the time comes, but I gotta tip my hat to LeBron. I think every year for the last 4 years, it seems like there was always a player that was that we wanted to assume that he was going to be the best player that was going to take over LeBron's spot. Whether that was Giannis, whether that's Kawhi, whether that's
KD.
James Harden, KD, even Anthony Davis on at the Pelicans at one point.
Kyrie would consider himself.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But
Fraud.
again, it seems like every year there's always been a player that they want to sort of supplant him from where he is, in the hierarchy, and so. I got to tip my hat off to them. I think the Nuggets, again, congratulations on making it to the Western Conference Finals. I hope it's longer than 5. I hope it goes 7, but I think, to come back 3-1, not once but twice, that's a lot to ask, especially for a Lakers team that's well rested. When was the last time they played? What are we talking here?
It's been over a week.
Maybe they're cold. Denver's hot right now. Maybe they steal one of these first 2 games, right? At home.
I think that's how
Or
Denver
on the
gets
road
one.
for
I
them,
think they
but-
definitely take maybe one of the first 2, but once that train gets going again, I think it's going to be really tough for Denver to be able to come back and win this series. Listen, guys, I'm glad you guys have joined us. We're going to take a quick break for about a minute. We're going to come back to you guys and talk NFL. This is Read and React. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Read and React. We just talked NBA. We're moving forward now. We're going to go to the NFL segment of the show. Week 1 was kind of crazy for us. I don't even know where to start. I think we went in last week excited about it. I think we got everything that we bargained for. You think about everything that's going on with COVID and the stadiums being kind of empty, and the product that we received, I was pretty happy with it. Especially, we talk about our guys. We talk about the Patriots. You guys let me know your thoughts. Cam had a great game.
He did. 15 of 19, 155 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 75 rushing yards, and one of the record for the most rushing yards by a Patriots QB, which is kind of oddly enough because we had Tom Brady for the last 20 years and he's not a rushing quarterback. But be that as it may, he has the record. But all in all, it was efficient, right? It wasn't too much. They didn't kill themselves. They took what the defense gave them. Cam Newton obviously looks healthy. He looks like he's a man on a mission to prove, all the other 31 teams, including, or 32 teams, even the Patriots at some point, that I'm healthy, that I deserve to, to at least be a starting quarterback in this league. I think I also don't want to get too gung-ho because, again, one, it's Miami. Two, the receiving options outside of Harry and Edelman are kind of shaky at best. So I'm curious to see how that holds up. And I don't know about you guys, but I also don't want to see Cam Newton run the ball that much. I think he's already taken a lot of hits in his career, and I just don't want that to pile up and sort of, stall him in the end.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me into my point. I was going to say they're a very run-heavy offense last week. You've seen them run the ball 42 times, and I think that was kind of a theme around the league, that teams are running the ball a whole lot more, especially with there being no preseason and no practice and tackling and restrictions and all those things. I think you see them kind of running the ball and coming right at you right now. And I think that was what the game plan was with Cam was, listen, it's a new offense, it's a new team. We don't know exactly what we have, but we know we can come at you right now. And you can't stop that. And they weren't. Miami was in lots of situations where they should have stopped us, and they didn't, except for, the N'Keal Harry fumble, who's probably going to be in the doghouse this week. But come on, young buck, we need you. We need you, brother. I mean, like you said, we have no receivers, right? He's on the outside. He makes some plays. He gets us all the way down to the end zone and then turns the ball over. So what the Patriots do, just keep it in Cam's hands. And I think for the first game, that was something that could work. Again, it was Miami. It was somebody that we're familiar with. We play them 2 times a year, every year. They've got, Patriots South down there in terms of their defense and their defensive coordinator, or their head coach now, who's our former defensive coordinator. So I think it was a good game to do that, but now we're going to get a real test this week where we go out to Seattle, and you're not going to be able to just run the ball down these guys' throats with a Jamal Adams and Bobby Wagner, at the linebacker position. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they do it for the rest of the season. But great first game, lots of potential with this team, lots of different things that we weren't able to see before with Brady, and now we're able to see those things with Cam.
Yeah, so I think it's obvious that the Patriots offense, especially that we saw in the first half, it wasn't sustainable. I think that what we saw from them during the second half, once that they got a feel of what's going on the field, right, what the defense was looking at, you saw Cam kind of get a few more passes underneath them, and then the ball started to move a little bit. And I think that's going to be a little bit more indicative of the type of offense that we're going to see from New England this year. It's and I actually think we're just touching the surface. Everybody goes kind of. I heard on the sports radio earlier this week they said they kind of played all their cards, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think one thing we know about Belichick,
we're in trouble.
Right, we're definitely in trouble. But in I think one thing we know about Belichick is he goes and he puts the team in the best position to win each week, and so our game plan will be changed each week. Of course, we talked about how you're not going to be able to run as much with the dominant defense that they have in Seattle, and so it's going to be on our receivers to be able to get open and kind of show what they've got. I think we saw a heavy dose of Damiere Byrd, who in the stat book didn't produce much on Sunday, but he was on the field a lot. And I think that you'll start to see maybe, where we can get him in some open passes, how we can get Edelman open. And really, we might even see a spread out of the Patriots this week, And so there's some options for them that are going to come out of based off of last week's game film.
And I think, if we're looking ahead of this coming week's matchup against Seattle, the best way to attack them is on the outside. And I know Atlanta Falcons, they have arguably the best wide receiver in the game and really a good upcoming wide receiver in Calvin Ridley. We saw what those two did against their corners, and so obviously that's the best way to attack Seattle, right, is on the outside. My problem is we don't have, I guess unless, Damiere Byrd, steps up on the outside, Edelman is just not that receiver, right, to win out, one-on-one outside. He usually does his damage on the inside. Who's going to win those matchups? Is N'Keal Harry going to step up and be that outside receiver that we drafted him to be? And as a Patriots fan, for me, it's sort of, bittersweet to see this because we're seeing, DK Metcalf on the other side really light up and really having
We
a
should
really
have
good
took
rookie.
instead of Nikhil Harry.
You know what
Coach.
I mean? Thank you. Preach.
Sorry, GM.
You know what I mean? And so that's going to be a little bittersweet for me. Obviously what could have been, would have loved to have seen DK Metcalf here. But, be that as it may, obviously we still have a lot of questions to answer. We still got to figure out exactly, how this team is going to progress. I think it's crazy to think that any team has let out all their the tricks out of the bag in week one. It's tough to say that.
So the flip side to that is I think we're a little hard on Nikhil Harry based off of a mix of what we saw from last season in the first game this past Sunday, and unfortunately the fumble overshadowed the good things that he did, and I think Cam probably spoke on it earlier. He had a pretty decent game, and I think in his first game back, I'm willing to allow him a little bit more grace.
Man, listen. Okay, what did I just say? DK Metcalf. Have you seen this boy, DK Metcalf?
Sure.
Okay, well, where's Nikhil Harry, all right? Because he went a lot higher than he did.
I think they're in two different scenarios.
They
though.
are. Hey, listen, first round pick,
Sure.
show up, all right? I know Cam said he's got his receivers back, and he should do that, and he's being a great leader. But we've been
It's
waiting.
easy to be DK Metcalf when you have Tyler Lockett, when you have Russell Wilson, who's the mobile quarterback, which we're now having.
It's
now.
easy to be Nikhil Harry when you have Tom Brady, okay? So what are you talking about?
I don't agree. I don't agree. I think Tom, we saw his start to kind of scale things back again last season. He wasn't the same Tom that we all agreed that we saw. And to be fair, none of our receivers had great production last year, and part of that is because Tom, who went into
Was
Tampa
disengaged. Was
Bay
disengaged.
so lovely and decided I'm going to work with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in the offseason, didn't even want to talk to Harry in the offseason last season. So we have to kind of give them a little bit more grace to become the first round pick. I'm not ready to give up on him because he didn't even play a full season last season. So maybe after 8 games, let's say he's not, the receiver that he needs to be.
Yeah, I think again, I'm not giving up on Harry either. I obviously again year 2, the injuries from last year. Obviously a different offense, a different quarterback. So I'm not going to give up on Harry, but like I said, I think it's just bittersweet to see some of the people that were drafted after him, like DK Metcalf, like AJ Brown. Out of Tennessee, or even like the tight end, Dawson Knox from on Buffalo. Just seeing him, what he did his rookie year as well, and just seeing all those options there. So even Terry McLaurin, from Washington, the Washington football team.
Got their first win this week. Shout out to them.
You know what I mean? So I think that's what sort of, eats at me. But be that as it may, again, I'm in Bill I trust, or in Bill we trust, whatever, we want to say. And so I think we got to give him a little bit more leeway and a little bit more, obviously a leash. But I think it's just bittersweet to see all those players, perform who got drafted after him.
Well,
Go ahead.
while we're talking about things being bittersweet, we got to go to the NFC side of the ball. We got to talk seeing Tom Brady in the Buccaneers uniform, seeing Gronkowski. Gronkowski didn't really affect me as much. I almost puked when I saw Brady run out there in that white Buccaneers. I didn't think it would affect me as much as it did, but it
hilarious.
did. And weirdly enough, I want Brady to succeed, but part of me watching him and not letting him get the win, I didn't hate it.
I wasn't mad at it either. It was a rough start for Brady down in Tampa, but I didn't have the same feelings. I thought it was hilarious watching him come out in his jersey, trying to be hyped up to play for the worst franchise in NFL history. Or one of, maybe not the worst.
Oh, wow.
But like you said, Gronk looked like a shell of himself. If we want
Oh,
to,
Browns.
Right.
that's true. They had to run with Belichick, right? But Gronk looked like a shell of himself. He looked slow. He didn't get off the line, which I heard was rumors that he had when he was here in New England, that he couldn't get off the line, he couldn't beat coverage, he couldn't beat the press. I think he did well in the inline blocking game. in the run game and all those things. I think he did a pretty good job there. But this isn't the same Gronk that everybody was expecting they were going to get.
No.
This isn't the Hall of Fame Gronk that we thought
No.
we had here in New England. I think it just shows that Belichick is another.
I had a gentleman in one of my fantasy football leagues take Gronk in the third round of the draft
Nice.
and quote say he's good for 15 touchdowns this season. Man,
Nice.
I hope that works out for you, bro.
I had someone take him in the 4th round, so it's I don't know what it is. I think people obviously living in the
I
past.
took Gronk as my
Yes.
second tight end just
Yep.
in case because I figured he might score a touchdown or two in some very easy games, but going up against a very tough Saints defense, I didn't see that happening.
People are heavily invested in the TB12 method. It's crazy. Listen, but the other side to this is I don't think that it's over with for the Tampa Bay. I think it's just a matter of time. Nobody had preseason games, so it's a failing. And to be fair, the Saints came out and they looked phenomenal, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think once Brady gets some time and some rapport with his receivers, things will get a little bit better for him. You saw Peyton Manning in his first year with Denver. Things didn't go all that well. He comes back the next year and his arm's totally shot, but somehow they win a Super Bowl because he's able to manage the game. And I think that's kind of what we might see out of Brady and the Buccaneers. It may not work out the way they want to this season, but they should be on to the right path.
I think I've got to interrupt you right there and say that maybe in a situation where Brady was used to it with the coaches and that type of thing with the organization, it would work out. But we've seen right away, he goes out and makes these mistakes. He had 2 interceptions, and Bruce Arians after the game, 1, calls him out, but 2, kind of throws his quarterback under the bus. I don't think you hear those types of things from Belichick here in New England. I think he says that Tom needs to do a better job, but I think he doesn't get into the specifics of it, right? And he kind of threw this guy under the bus when really, Tom, you can hear him on the broadcast say, Mike! And maybe Mike Evans should have made the right decision and went straight instead of breaking in on the interception, right? So they need to get their continuity down. But real quick, Bruce Arians, he goes and blames the quarterback. This guy, in his last 5 years at Arizona, went 49, 30, and 1, and now he's 7 and 10 in Tampa. Everybody's talking about this guy like he's Belichick. Can we please, America, can we stop talking about this guy like he's the second coming of Belichick? He sucks. and he's coaching a suckbag team, okay? And Brady might, win them a few games, but I mean they're playing in a very tough division where you saw Matt Ryan come out and throw for 450 yards late in that game. They were down, and he came out and exploded. So if they don't get it together quick, it's going to be a lot of trouble for them.
And we got to dial it back a little bit, though. To your point, David, it's only week 1, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't the playoffs. This wasn't the Super Bowl. This wasn't the conference championship or anything like that. This was week 1. I kind of expected this, to be honest. Like you said, we all talked about it. They didn't have a preseason. They didn't. They didn't have the OTAs. Obviously, with COVID happening. So I think for me, I think. Again, given all that's happened in the preseason, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, New Orleans obviously is a tough place to play, whether it's fans or not, because for whatever reason, the Superdome just gets the players juiced up. But there was obviously some good things to take away from. Obviously, there was a couple of great passes. That first pass to Godwin, down the sideline was a thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. So, it was great to see that, and there was a couple of plays that were good. I think we're really seeing, the Belichick way or the Patriots way. I think we're sort of seeing the difference, right? In a lot of the mental lapses that they had, right? The false starts that they had, the muff punt that they had. I think we're starting to see, the mistakes that normally other teams do against the Patriots. Obviously he's part of that team now that they're making those mistakes. And so I think we're starting to see the Patriot way, the Belichick way, if you will. All that being said, though, I think, from both sides, I think we can't get too gung-ho, we can't get too happy, or too down, rather, if you're looking at it from the Bucs perspective, and just say it's week 1, there's time, there's plenty of time. And not only that, for whatever reason, if this, definitely goes completely left, there's still an additional playoff team, obviously with this playoff structure. So they still, still another chance, for them to make the playoffs and make some noise.
I mean, we can't even talk playoffs in week 1 of a COVID season. You know,
Especially now that suck
it's-
back team
it's-
Tampa.
it's gonna get crazy, but you know, I one of the things I preach when I used to coach high school football. Shout out to Wayland High School, Wayland Warriors. Love you guys. Or I should say, Strength and Honor, Scotts Marsajan.
Hey.
But listen, at the end of the day, you never get too high, never get too low. They're gonna come back. They'll be a good team. This week maybe this week be a little bit crazy. I'm hearing Chris Godwin is in concussion protocol.
Mike Evans still has a
Mike
hamstring
Evans,
issue.
it's, supposedly, but he looked like he was okay on Sunday. So, you know, they'll give him the shot and he'll be ready to go.
That's it, man. We good to go.
So we're going to switch gears. We're going to go rapid fire for a couple seconds. We're going to go to the Read and React segment, a portion of the show. Of course, you guys who have been tuning in, you guys know how this goes so far. I put out a topic. We give each person 45 seconds to answer, and we move in. 4 topics, 40 seconds each. So if you guys are ready, I'm pretty much ready to roll.
Let's get it.
Let's go.
All right, so 45 seconds on the clock. Let's pull these topics up. Question number 1. This is a kind of crazy story. We're going to talk U.S. Open. Can Naomi Osaka become the greatest women's tennis player of all time?
She's definitely on a good path, and definitely shout out to Osaka. I picked her to win the U.S. Open, so big shout out to her. I think she's definitely on the right path. I also don't want to get it, overreact too much as well. I think Serena has clearly cemented herself as the greatest tennis female player of all time, but she's definitely on the right path.
Congratulations to Osaka for winning the U.S. Open. I think that she's got a long way to go before we start talking about the greatest woman of all time. I think Serena is 2 wins away from being considered that, and maybe even one of the greatest tennis players of all time. So I think that she's been doing a great job. She's done a great job wearing the mask to bring awareness to social injustice. So I want to give a good shout out to her. I think she did a great job, but I think that she's got a long way to go.
Yeah. I'm on that fence where if there's anybody that can do it, it's Naomi at this point. She's amazing. You watch her play, and it's like she's basically the next coming, or the next best thing, the second coming of a Serena Williams. But with that being said, we still got the first coming. We still got Serena Williams. I know you said greatest female tennis player. I might even take it a step further and say the greatest tennis player of all time. Serena's that good, and we haven't seen the last of her just yet. We're going to go question number 2, NHL Stanley Cup picks. I know that the Dallas Stars are now in the Cup, and Tampa Bay is now in the Game 7. Did they win?
No, they lost, but I think they're up 3-2.
I believe that it's a Game 7 now. Oh, well, we're going to figure out in a second.
They're 3-2.
There's 3-2, so who are you guys taking here? Who are we looking at?
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. If nothing else, obviously they were the team that knocked off the team that I thought was going to win was the Bruins. Might be a homer pick or whatever, but I think obviously Tampa Bay is they have a good mix of obviously some tough hitters. They have some quick guys, and obviously some great a goalie as well. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay Lightning.
I thought that last year that the Bruins got lucky. Tampa, they didn't have to face them in the playoffs. And Tampa was the best team all year last year. And this year they've got Shattenkirk and Stamkos, who have been great. They've been outstanding in these playoffs. I don't really see them losing 2 more games to the Islanders. I think the Islanders are a great team, and they've fought really hard in these playoffs. But I see Tampa going in to face Dallas in the Cup, and I'm going to go with Tampa. I think they were the best team last year. I think they're the best team this year.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go, and I'm going to go on the other side and say Dallas. I think they're hungry for it. I think they're ready. We got our old friend Tyler Seguin down there who hasn't been playing the greatest throughout the playoffs, but he's getting his footing under him. And from what I've seen from Tampa, I think that they're primed for to be picked off. And so should Tampa even make it to the Stanley Cup, I think we're going to see Dallas come away with their championship. We're going to move on to the third question. WNBA playoffs. We saw a great shot last night from Phoenix for them to move on to the next round. But you guys give me your thoughts. Who is your pick to be the WNBA champion?
I think this is, I might go with the safest pick. I'm going to go with Seattle Storm. Obviously, the top team or the number 2 team out there in the West, but I think they match up pretty well. Obviously, with the Vegas Aces, who they'll probably end up meeting in the finals. So I'm gonna go ahead and get Seattle Storm. I'm
gonna go with the Phoenix Mercury. You alluded to the great shot by Shea Petty last night at the buzzer to win the game. Diana Taurasi is veteran presence, and I've been watching them in the bubble a little bit, and they've got great continuity. I think they are surprising some teams here, being ranked number 5 and kind of moving up. But, also watch out for Connecticut. Connecticut could be good. I think they're a sleeper to maybe beat LA. But I'm going to go with the Mercury.
Yeah. I have to side with Marcus with this one. I got to go with the Mercury. I think Diana Taurasi, she's just tough. And as you alluded, Shea Petty, who is a Roxbury native, shout out to Shea Petty, making that big-time shot last night. I think they're just tough all around, and they don't even have their full squad. Brittany Griner's not even in the bubble right now, and so they're just balling. I think that they're a tough out, and I can't really go away from them at the moment. Last question, and my favorite one of them all. After last night's defeat at the hands of the Nuggets, is Doc Rivers in the hot seat? Who is right?
Yeah,
Caliente.
All right. Man, if I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no, even though again, quick reaction, right? Read and react. We want to say, he's out of there. He didn't have, kind of rile the team, even being up 3-1. But I think we also got to realize that, again, as much as this team was poised to make it at least to the Western Conference Finals, this is still their first year together. I think we're starting to realize, or starting to find out is Kawhi that guy to take over late, or is it Paul George, or whoever the case may be, Lou Williams, and plus they have a lot to figure out, obviously, with some free agents. So I'm gonna go ahead and say no, even though probably you want maybe think so, but I'll say no. I'll say he'll still stick around for one more year.
And I'll echo that in a way. Doc obviously has coached the last 3 6-man of the year. I think he's a very good coach. I think that they would be crazy to try to go and find somebody else. I don't know if there's anybody out there right now that's available that can do the job better. Maybe there is, but you alluded to them not being put together very well to start with, and I think they should shake things up a little bit. I mean, you see Doc's lost his 8th Game 7. Maybe it's time for a change for him, and maybe it would do the organization some good if they got someone else in there.
I got 2 words for you.
Here we go.
Pink slip.
Ooh.
Get him
See you later.
out of here. I think he needs to be not only on the hot seat, roast him up, light him up. I want to just point out something for Doc Rivers, and this is the Celtics fan in me coming out. Before we signed Brad Stevens, Doc Rivers said he no longer wanted to be a part of the Celtics team because he did not want to be a part of a rebuild. He wanted to wait and go to a team that he knew could contend. Since that time, the Celtics have been to the 3 out of the 4 last Eastern Conference Finals. The Clippers, who he went and took over, have not made a conference finals yet.
In their history.
Now you're talking about managing a team full of superstars and Chris Paul. You've had Blake Griffin. You've had Kawhi Leonard. You've had Paul George. And all you have to show for it is second-round exits. I think that this, if anything, it's proven to me that your championship that he's gotten was more about Kevin Garnett, was more about Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, who I don't even like,
Rondo,
than it was about Doc Rivers. I think that he's very overrated, and I think it's time to make a change in that. I was all fired up. I couldn't wait to get that one out. I think we got to scale it back a little
animosity
bit.
towards Doc,
man. Listen, it's been a fun show. We got one more topic for you guys. We're going to go back. Week 1, we talked about Tyson and Roy Jones.
The man's ready.
Oh my goodness, have things taken a turn in terms of Tyson and Roy Jones. I don't know if we can get that picture. Can we throw this picture up to the people so they can see this? Roy Jones has absolutely lost his mind, and I quote, "I think I made the wrong decision in deciding to fight Tyson." You guys gotta give me
Man, I
your
could have told you
thoughts.
that. You gotta think about that.
I'm
I said
telling-
it in week 1. This dude was ready to kill. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to put it like that, but Tyson is out for blood. You see him on Shark Week. He's been swimming with the sharks. The man is ready to murder somebody. Okay.
I think he thought he was going to get the Mike Tyson from Hangover. I'm telling you, I think he saw Hangover recently. It was like, he's not that. I mean, he's still got the left, but he's a little pudgy or whatever. And obviously, the more videos that come out of Mike Tyson just killing things, and like you said on Shark Week and just killing his workouts, the more he's like, man, do I really need this money? Like, I got X amount of money here in the bank. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Maybe I can figure something out. Work these endorsements. I don't know. Figure something out. But I mean, I think obviously we're seeing he doesn't want that smoke.
Listen, I think what we just saw from Roy Jones is he's had his come to Jesus moment. He looked at life and said, listen, I appreciate everything that life's brought me this far.
Yeah.
I don't want to see my last days come. I don't want to count down. I mean, you start to see life flash before your eyes. Imagine seeing
my kids.
those Tyson videos, those workouts, him hitting the punching bag, and literally you watching it saying, I love my children. I
Right.
love my, I don't want things to end for me.
Right.
And that's, you got to think this is the end days when you're stepping into the rings with Tyson at this point.
Well, one thing real quick about Tyson is, he said those videos, that was about a 30-second video, and then he was in bed for a week, right? And it took him a lot to realize that the training that it's going to take in order to get back in fighting shape, he wasn't in it, and he's going to have to work hard. And since then, he's been doing a very good job of getting himself back into shape for the fight. Roy Jones, I feel sorry for you, man. You've already given Mike Tyson enough ammunition to get inside your head. He already knows you don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. We know you don't want to be there. Your kids know they don't want you there. So please, just do the right thing, man. Fall down.
Oh, man, he said that. Oh, man.
If he dies, he dies. Listen, guys, I'm glad you guys joined us this week. We've got the after show coming to you. Please join us. Give us your thoughts on the show. Anything you guys want to talk about, we're going to hit on some topics for the podcast, which we'll be able to get out for you guys. If you guys like the show, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you guys next week. This is Read and React.
Let's get it.